was telling Wendy, and when I came down here, when I was a city councilor, this used to be the room where I would hold town hall meetings. So I'm used to this room being filled with skeptical people. It's great to have positive, happy people in here. It's totally disorienting. I wake up every morning excited about being the mayor of Tulsa, and I want to share why. I love the history of our city, because in my read of it, the history of our city is one of people continually overcoming obstacles, pulling together, finding ways to aim high, and accomplishing those goals. And if you look at the history of our city, there have been these key periods of time that we've gone through. There was one in the late 1920s, early 1930s, when the people that came here in that oil boom decided, you know what, we're not just going to come to Tulsa and make a bunch of money in the energy business. We're going to build a city that we could brag to our friends back home about. And so that's when you have Philbrook constructed. That's when you have the Phil Tower built. That's when you have the water line built that was such a marvel of civil engineering that the President of the United States opened up the water line for Tulsa. That's when you had us open one of the first airports for any city in the world, when most people in America had never even seen an airplane. In the 1930s, the second busiest airport in the world was in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And so you have that period of time that really launched us as a world-class city. Then you go forward about 50 years, and you hit the late 1960s, early 1970s. Now you have a lot of more matured companies that have decided they want to give back to our community. That's when Williams decides they're not moving to Houston. They're going to build the Williams Center in downtown Tulsa. They're going to close one of our major streets and build a giant tower right in the middle of it, which today is insane that happened. And yet that was the vision that John Williams had. That's when the Performing Arts Center gets built. It's when so many of the things that we love today about Tulsa, where we enjoy coming together as Tulsans, were built in that era. Well, we're in my opinion, the third wave of that era right now. So when you go around Tulsa, when you participate in events like this, when you join groups that allow you to give back to our community, you're not just doing that for right now. You are playing a part in the history of our city. That's what gets me excited about being the mayor right now. I want to tell you about just a couple of things that are happening in Tulsa and explain why I think this is 20, 30 years from now, people are going to look back at this as a historic period of time. Number one, we're going to open the greatest park in the world in Tulsa this summer. I will never forget taking my kids, and I love to take my kids to things whenever it's a big deal, and they're 11 and 8, so they don't necessarily think it's a big deal, but I do, and I knew that the groundbreaking for the gathering place was going to be a big deal, and so I took them to that, and we're driving there, and my kids are whining about it, like, oh, we have to go to some park. And I was like, no, you don't understand. This is going to be the greatest park in the world, and it's in your city. And what I love about and I've gotten a tour of the gathering place, and to call it a park doesn't do it justice. And you'll see when you get to go there. It is amazing. Every corner you turn will blow your mind. And what I love about that, more than the facility, I even hate to call it a park, the facility itself, it's like Disneyland for free, is that for my kids and their generation, they're going to grow up assuming that, of course, the greatest park in the world is in my town. That is their level of awareness of what Tulsa is all about. And it's been a while since we've had that kind of perspective and that expectation. And yet they will grow up with that. We're going to build a lake in the river right next to that park that's going to change the way people use outdoor recreation in this city. We're going to be the only city between Kansas City and San Antonio with bus rapid transit that's going to empower Tulsans to move around our city to access jobs and parts of the city that they haven't had access to before in a world-class way. Public transit isn't going to be a vehicle of last resort in Tulsa anymore. It's going to be a vehicle of choice. Gilcrease Museum is the greatest collection of Western art anywhere in the world, and you own it. I'm talking about everything from Benjamin Franklin's copy of the Declaration of Independence, which, by the way, is the only known original copy of the Declaration that isn't in the hands of the government. It's on display at Gilcrease Museum. Mr. Gilcrease purchased it. Well, I'm talking about Native American artifacts that people have brought from all around the world here to Gilcrease Museum. I'm talking about the Bob Dylan archive. And I'll tell you, I got to go on, one of the good things about being mayor is you get to go on behind-the-scenes tours. I went on a tour back right before, during the holidays, and they brought me into the room where they have all of their special collection at Gilcrease. And I looked at a copy of George Washington's home gardening guidebook that was signed by him. It was like something you would buy to work on your house, but it was George Washington's. Saw a letter that Thomas Jefferson had written to his friend on July 2nd, 1776, written in his own hand. Then I saw Bob Dylan's leather jacket and the tambourine that inspired Tambourine Man just sitting on a table right in front of me. These are things that are going to draw people from all around the world here to Tulsa when they go on display, to the point that the Washington Post has said that Tulsa in the 21st century is going to become the epicenter of the study of 20th century American music. Yes, please applaud that. My wife told me I talk too fast and I don't give people a chance to applaud. So that is going to come online here in the next couple of years and is going to bring people from around the world. But we aren't just doing things that are great from a tourist attraction standpoint. We're also breaking ground in the way that people can help one another. That's why the New York Times dubbed us Beta City, because there's no place in America where people are doing more to test out great ideas to help their fellow man than right here in Tulsa. Yes, if you just spontaneously start to applaud, then I'll shut up and allow it. So help me out here. All right. That's happening. And what does that mean? Well, we're leading the nation already in early childhood education, but we're taking that to a whole new level with the Birth to 8 strategy that the George Kaiser Family Foundation brought in the person who implemented universal pre-K in New York City just 2 years ago, which is regarded as one of the most important educational advancements in our country in the last several decades. And now she's leading an initiative that is going to make Tulsa the best place to be a baby. You know, we talk so often about, yes, babies. Any babies in the room? No. We talk so much about Tulsa's the best place to raise a family. Well, that's adult-centric. We want it to be the best place to be a kid. And so if you're a kid, you're going to have the best shot at a great life no matter how rich or poor your parents are. No matter what part of town you grow up in, you have a whole community that is going to be pulling together through this strategy to give you the best shot at a great life that you could have. And this is something that, by the way, people all around the United States are looking at Tulsa to see how we do on this. It also means that we're pioneering new initiatives like the Better Way program that we're doing at the City of Tulsa, where instead of trying to punish people who are down on their luck and are forced into panhandling, we're not going to go out and try and arrest those people and put them in jail. Instead, we're going to give them an opportunity to join a city work crew and help beautify our city. And, yes, thank you. And while they're doing that, we're going to connect them with social service agencies that can get them in the pipeline to get the help they need to get back out and have wonderful lives moving forward. We'll be one of the first 5 cities in America to do this program. So that's the type of things that we're doing to set the bar nationally here in Tulsa for helping our fellow man. There's so many other exciting things. From an economic development standpoint, whatever it takes, right? Thank you, you got that reference. A lot of focus on Amazon in the last couple of months. I can tell you that going through that exercise put us on the radar of companies that were not talking about Tulsa 6 months ago that are now actively contacting us because they heard about the things that we have to offer. We just brought in a company from Chicago. It's one of the largest food manufacturing companies in the world. They found out about how we're pulling, literally, this is what their CEO said to me. We looked all over the country on where we wanted to locate our finance jobs. And we saw how you're pulling together in Tulsa and building this amazing city over the next 5 to 10 years. And when we found out about that, there was no question where we were going. So this, what we're doing here in Tulsa, the city that we're building in the next couple of years, it isn't just about it being good for us who are here right now. It is that it's going to send a message out all around the country, and I can tell you, having spoken at a convening of mayors last November in Paris, even around the world, people are looking here at a time of great division, both nationally and internationally, and they're seeing a city that is setting that stuff aside and saying, let's pull together and build the best city that we can and honor the legacy that we inherited where people did the same thing. So getting to be the mayor of a city that is doing that is unbelievably exciting. And I want to thank all of you for coming out and participating in this. And if I have one thing that I ask of you, it is that we don't do a good enough job of spreading the word about the amazing things that are happening in Tulsa. The word of mouth that you can spread from this room today out into the community, out around the country, out around the world will have a far greater impact than any marketing campaign that we can buy as a city, any branding strategy that we could try to spend months coming up with. You just telling people that you know and care about the amazing things that are happening here can make a huge difference in Tulsa.